Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Political Vigilante Live. It is 4:18 Pacific time, which makes it 7:18 on the East Coast and other time zones all over the world. We're going to bring Whitney Webb on the show in just a second. We have 288 people watching. Please make sure you hit the like button. For those of you who are new to the show, we... hold on, let me bring this up. We got demonetized 2 weeks ago, February 1st. So hit the like button. You cannot do the super chat feature. That's part of the demonetization. So if you want to support what we're doing, you can go to Rockfin right now, rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. It is free to sign up. And if they have a tip feature, which is very similar to the super chat feature, and I will answer those questions after we talk with Whitney. So that's a great way to support the show. Also, and you're seeing in this let me change the scroll underneath. So in the scroll underneath, we've been demonetized. It also shows you can ask questions on Venmo at Graham-Elwood. So I will be reading those again after we have Whitney on the show. And then, of course, I have a PayPal button, which is available at GrahamElwood.com. And, of course, Patreon, all the great ways to support the show. I'm going to drink this smoothie real quick. Unsweetened organic cashew milk, which, as Lee Camp calls it, is the most boring of all milks. It's the John Tesh of milks. Which I think is an insult to the cashew people. I'll be quite honestly with you. I think after that episode of Government Secrets where Lee said that, I think we're due for a sternly written letter from the cashew people. Dear Mr. Camp, and I have take great umbrage at the cashew community being slandered in such a malfeasant way. Like there's got to be some letter like that. It's got frozen organic blueberries, frozen organic pineapple, frozen power greens, some aminos, and unsweetened organic peanut butter, and plant-based protein powder. I said plant-based protein power. It's technically powder, but it's really it powers the vegan guns, which I'm sure that's the real threat. Google can't handle this much vegan furiousness. Great sentence. Smoothies are pure gold. Find me something better than a smoothie. You can't do it. God damn it. Heaven must just be surfing while drinking a smoothie. And the Cubs win the World Series every year. It's probably those things. All right. Hit the like button. Also, if you're on Rockfin, hit the like button as well. Buck Smith, thank you so much. Shave Your Knuckles for Justice for the tip over on the Rockfin. Everybody. Sechimo Cantanella, thank you so much. Made the mistake of watching one of your videos on YouTube this morning. Luckily, you reminded me of the demonetization at the start of it and then switched to Rockfin. Sorry, Graham, old habits. Don't worry, my friend. I appreciate it. Meanwhile, how about Bitcoin smashing through the $50,000 barrier? Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Pretty sweet, Matt S. Boom. Good day, Graham. How are you, Matt? Thank you so much for supporting the show, everybody. All right, let's bring Whitney on the show. Where's that? Boom, 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 boom. They're chanting for you in the chat. All right. Whitney, are you there?
Hi. Yes.
All right. Hold on. Just make sure the sound's all right. I've been having an earpiece problem. Can you talk real quick, Whitney?
Yeah, of course. Can you hear me? Hopefully you can. Hi.
Now I can. Can everyone else hear me in the chat? Kate, let me know if there's any sort of tech issues before we get going. Yay. We have 410 people watching. Please hit the like button. Perfect time to tune in. What up? Okay. They're literally chanting for you in the chat. It's
Okay.
Whitney, you have a very rabid fan base here in Gotham. They are very excited to have you on the show. So
That's neat.
it is. It's great. We're going to talk about me being censored and your views on that. Maybe you've also been doing some articles on what else do you want to talk about before we get into it?
Well, I had sent you this article I did about this Biden nominee. He hasn't been confirmed yet, but they're covering up his ties. His ties to Epstein. He's going to be the top science advisor in the history in U.S. history because they're elevating his position to a cabinet level position, so he'll be like the science czar or whatever. But he's he's shady.
What's his name?
Eric Lander.
All right. Already sounds like a horrible name. All right.
But we can talk about anything else you want. I don't know if you saw, but the Washington Post reported that like one of the big arrests they made around the January 6th event was actually a socialist former veteran guy that wanted to go after racist mobs or something. And just based on his social media posts alone, they're gonna lock him up.
All right. Those are the three things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about demonetization, this guy getting busted at the Capitol thing.
Let me check his name really quick because I read it really quick before I came on because I was like, whoa, and I retweeted it. But if we're going to talk about it, I should be able to remember his whole name. Okay.
Kate, while she's doing that, can you just make sure these three segments we're going to do censorship first, then we're going to do probably Eric Lander, then we're going to do this socialist that got busted at the Capitol. So if I forget or something, or Whitney forgets, text me. High tech, come here. Just text me if I forget.
There it is.
All right.
Daniel Baker.
Daniel Baker. All right. Danny Baker and Eric Lander. Bunch of fine individuals. Okay, so I think we're ready to do it. Here we go. Hello, everybody. My name. Oh, wait a minute. Let me do this. Shit, I forgot to do this. Let me share this out. Let me just share this out the Rockfin stream real quick. Everybody, share this out on your social media. That really helps. This is streaming free on Rockfin right now, and if you can afford to do the $10 a month, that really helps what we're doing as well. All right. Retweet. Boom. So, wow, we've got 528 people watching. Hit the like button, of course. All right. I'm all set. Here, one more hit of this delicious smoothie so I have the energy to... Okay. All right. We got the scroll going. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood. You are watching The Political Vigilante. Always great to have returning guest back on the show, Whitney Webb, who has a show on Rockfin called Unlimited Hangout, which you can get if you're a Rockfin premium member, and also just sign up for rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. We've been demonetized by YouTube. So, help us out any way that you can. They have taken away our super chat feature. We can't make a penny on YouTube, basically, which was a massive chunk of our revenue. So go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood. All this stuff is scrolling below and also is in the show notes. Sign up to Rockfin Premium if you can. Rockfin is also free. I got a lot of free content on Rockfin as well. But if you sign up for Rockfin Premium, you get my premium content, Whitney's premium content, bunch of the other shows that have been deplatformed and demonetized, Nico House, Jason Burmas, Convo Couch, all of that. So support what we're doing so that we can keep sticking it to the ruling class. So I want to talk about that, Whitney, because you have had to deal with this in various forms about being censored. And this happened, the week of February 1st, this happened 2 weeks ago, where there was really this like bloodletting of about 10, 12 more left-leaning.
Yeah.
Because they obviously, we've all been seeing this happen for several years. We've all seen our videos get throttled and our subscriber counts and all this.
Yeah.
all seen all this happen. They demonetize certain videos because we talk about Yemen or anything I did that was like anti-war, they would demonetize. I've had Epstein videos demonetized. So what do you, in all of the work that you've been doing, how do you see this seemed very deliberate move of like targeting all these shows within like a 3-day span?
Yeah.
Some of them have been brought back. I know Jamarl Thomas has been brought back. A couple other shows have been brought back. I have not, and I don't think Nico House or Convo Couch have been brought back yet. So how do you view all this when you watch this kind of unfold, and also how has it affected you and what you're doing?
Well, a lot of these censorship waves, they'll target like one side of the political divide first, and then come back on the other side. So you had a lot of censorship after January 6th of right-leaning channels and alternative media, and then you have a few weeks afterwards, a left-wing one. I mean, it just really goes to show you that all of this stuff, whether it's censorship or a lot of these other measures they're trying to roll out under the guise of fighting domestic terrorism, they target both sides. They're using it to go after dissent on both sides. And I think the last time I was on, we talked a lot about that. And what we've seen is how it's gone. How this is something that they use to target, viewpoints they find inconvenient. That's why it's important to point out that a lot of these Silicon Valley companies have really deep ties or are contractors to the U.S. government or the U.S. national security state. That's why consistently since 2016 and before, anti-war sites have had to bear the burden of a lot of alt media censorship, and it's really not surprising when you consider that Google, at one point was collaborating with the Pentagon on Project Maven, the AI drone, assassination program that's now being run by the guy that funded Oculus Rift and is all tied up with Peter Thiel. So it moved, from Google to the libertarian guys in Silicon Valley or whatever. But, Google has ties like that to large swaths of the national security state. They're in a big way directing a lot of the AI modernization plans of the military. So people that are going to criticize policies going forward, they're being much more severe with it than it's ever been. And I think that's because they're trying to roll forward with a lot of plans in the near future that they don't want dissent about. We are currently in the midst of this huge modernization push across the US government. The military is just one example, but Silicon Valley and Google are going to be integral parts of that, and they're invested in that. And so anyone that's sort of gonna that they think would dissent against that sort of stuff, I think they're trying to take down. But this is really an outgrowth of what's been going on since the 2016 election, when censorship began and Facebook started partnering with groups like the Atlantic Council, that's like a NATO lobby group and stuff, to decide which groups to center. And what do you know? They go after the anti-war pages and stuff like that. So, this has been going on for 4 years. People didn't speak up enough before. Silicon Valley has never been held to account. They fused with the state. So, you're not going to be able to really use the government to hold them accountable at this point. We really have to just stop using their platforms and boycott them to the greatest extent possible.
Yeah, I mean, let's also not forget too the book When WikiLeaks Met Google, and Assange talks about Eric Schmidt's ties to basically in working with the CIA for data collection and other reasons.
He's a spook, 100%. And now they're calling him the second Henry Kissinger, which I bet is a title that all these assholes love to fight over. So he's like very involved in a lot of stuff, but he's also involved with Israeli intelligence, this group called Team 8, which was set up and run by, or is still run by, the former head of Israel's Unit 8200, was funded into existence by Eric Schmidt. They hired the former director of the NSA, Keith Alexander, to be able to identify vulnerabilities in U.S. networks, government networks, so that they could create startups to market to fill those gaps. And things like that, but also because, Unit 8200 are like the cyber spies of Israel. It's a conflict of interest. So Eric Schmidt set that up, and people at the NSA complained about Team 8 at the time of its founding, at the time of them hiring the former NSA director, about it being a conflict of interest. And then you have Eric Schmidt leading, directing the Department of Defense modernization policy and stuff, and no one says anything. I mean, he's clearly well connected with, intelligence figures, and it's really not surprising when you look at a lot of the other Silicon Valley figures and their ties to intelligence, or the company's ties to intelligence, having, receiving funding from the CIA or things like that, or, Epstein, Silicon Valley ties and things like that, which were considerable. It's just crazy when you when you think about how interconnected all of this stuff is. So to see, these groups not want dissent to be out there, their narratives to be countered at a time when they're playing for keeps in a lot of ways, and hoarding all of the wealth for themselves, and things like that. They really are getting to a point where I think it's really dangerous from their perspective to allow dissenters or independent journalism really to continue. And
yeah, I mean, it's like it's and they've been getting away with this, and then I mean, we've talked about this before in the show. I mean, Bill Gates spends, I don't know how much money just to get favorable coverage from the mainstream media.
Millions of dollars. I think to The Guardian alone, he gave like an insane amount of money, and their whole like healthcare coverage is funded by him, and some of their climate change stuff too, I think. Coverage, I mean. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's why none of these people are being held accountable. And then, of course, and we were worried about this right after the Capitol. And that's, I think, around the time we had you on the show last, is like, yeah, they're going to use what happened at the Capitol as an excuse to, censor. And the left just seems to be okay with it because, get rid of, Trump. And it's what bothers me so much is like, what happened at the Capitol is pretty awful, but there's already laws on the books to deal with it. They already are. I mean, like if you if you broke the door and you had a gun, that's against the law. There you go. And a strong case can be made. They tried it through impeachment. They're going to try it in a civil suit probably, or maybe in a legal suit against Trump and Giuliani inciting the riot. Okay, that's a fair case. And those two guys who I don't like have a right to get whatever weasel attorneys to defend them. They have the right to all that case. So we don't need more censorship on top of this. And just eliminating Parler, it's like, well, they're right wing. Great. I won't go there. I won't listen to them. This has been happening for a while when everyone's like, when everybody cheered, not everybody, but when a lot of like lefties cheered that they got deplatform Alex Jones. I'm like, this is bad. This is bad. I don't like Alex Jones. I don't listen to him. It's that simple. I don't need him pulled off. I just don't listen to his nonsense. I don't subscribe to any alt-right channels, or I don't do that, and if somebody's advocating for violence, well, that's not protected speech. And there's laws on the books that if somebody goes on their platform and says, oh, go kill this, go get this person, go set that building on fire, there's already laws on the books for that. You don't need to like deplatform a whole. And I'm so left. I do not like Trump. I'm glad he's out of power. I hope he ends the rest of his day rotting in prison. I don't, but this shouldn't, just any conservative point of view just gets to be muzzled as a bad thing, because then of course they've done it to me, Yeah.
Well, it's worth keeping in mind too, that like Silicon Valley is intimately involved in DNC leadership right now. They have a bunch of top executives from Facebook and Amazon and all of that stuff. So, they're basically the party in control right now. So anyone they don't like for whatever reason, they can just really crack down on. And we're also entering what I think is definitely going to be an unprecedented phase in censorship, because we've seen, I think it was NPR, some other mainstream outlet maybe, talking about how podcasts are dangerous and need to start being filtered and censored because they're not regulated to the extent that social media, sites currently are, and they don't have little notices that say, under RT, Russia state funded or whatever, on, podcast apps or RSS feeders, and, all of these different independent things where people could amass and collate their own, sort of unfiltered information from different independent sources or things that they're going after, and, trying to completely deperson people from the internet. Ryan Christian from The Last American Vagabond was locked out of all of his Google accounts. So not only did he lose his YouTube channel, but he wasn't even allowed to access any sort of Google related service with that email address, which was his main one and had a lot of other stuff on it at the time that he was deplatformed. And he was demonetized a while ago before that. And so eventually they demonetize and then they deplatform. It's sort of like the way they sort of mark channels, I think, and be like, you've been naughty according to your Silicon Valley overlords, shape up or, we're going to take you down. But, in my opinion, I like to defer to this quote from Doug Valentine. He wrote this really excellent book on the Phoenix program. He said, if you're not subversive, you're not relevant. So I tend to agree with that. So, if you're worried about, obviously if you depend on YouTube for income, getting demonetized sucks, but it's really they basically want you to grovel to get remonetized. So, why would you do that? Screw them.
Well, that's part of it too, is like, it's been, so the last 2 weeks has been, a little stressful and challenging for me.
Sure.
In the one hand,
this is the position they want people like us to be in, though. Well, so we stop doing it. I think that's part of it too.
Well, they want us to be like, oh, I'm tired of being an activist. I quit. I'm just going to make surf videos or whatever. They want us, they would love for me to just do that. And, I've gotten a lot of support from other indie media channels, which has been great. But I've had some conversations with some media who were like, oh, everybody's already like already self-censoring. Like I hear people say, oh, well, we pulled down all these videos about this topic because we thought that was going to be bad, and they're like, Graham, you shouldn't put that up on your thing. And I'm just like, well, now then they're winning. Then like, this is
exactly.
Like, well, don't do that. I posted this, Sputnik did an interview with me about being demonetized. And I started sharing it out. And someone was like, well, Graham, if you do that, aren't you worried Google's going to see that? And that might hurt your chances of getting remonetized?
And they'll call you a Russian?
Yeah.
Sputnik? Yeah.
I was on Crosstalk last week that's probably I've been on Crosstalk probably a half a dozen times in the last year because of Peter Lavelle knows me. And so, I was like, no, then I shouldn't, then I'm there. Oh, I'm afraid, and it's just like, people are like, oh, hopefully you'll get remonetized. They want to start giving me money again. Fine. But I ain't jumping through hoops for them, because here's what happens when I get remonetized. They'll just pull it again.
Yeah.
Or you committed more of some secret crime in, hipster hoodie, Silicon Valley court. So now I get deplatformed. So it's like, and a year and a half ago, I started posting very seriously on Rockfin, and I was like, Rockfin is my backup plan. And I started saying it in the summer of 2019, go to Rockfin. It's my backup plan. And summer of 19 is when I started covering the Epstein thing. He got, arrested and hung himself with a paper t-shirt. And that's, when I got a lot of videos, this channel grew really quickly, and then YouTube caught up with it. And so I've just been like, I don't want to. And when I hear content creator friends of mine, indie media friends of mine, like so willing to self-censor because they're afraid, Google's going to put them in detention again. I'm like, well, that's the hell with Google. Like, the hell with them. My plan, what I want to do, I want to push Rockfin so hard. I want to turn Google into MySpace. And I hope, Eric have to start selling, his CIA trophies on fucking Craigslist. That's what I hope, and maybe he's got to turn tricks to pay his lunch or something. That's really what I'd like to do. I'd like to see him living under the freeway. And no shame to any sex workers out there, my apologies, but I just don't like, I don't like these people at all. And I don't want to acquiesce to them, because it's like, it's just, I see how they're tacking. I see how it works.
Right. Well, if you self-censor, you're becoming the news that Google wants, and Google already has the news that it wants. It's called mainstream media. So why would you become them just to maintain it? That's sort of the same ideology that does motivate some people in independent media, sort of that come at it from this careerist angle. This is my career. I need to advance in my career, instead of necessarily being in this because you want to communicate information you think is important. So it reaches a wide audience, because you think it could change the direction of our crazy clown world that constantly gets more insane by the day. So, when you look out on that and you're like, this is totally nuts, I would like to do something that could maybe change the course of, this crazy path that we seem to be on, and maybe, round up the worst people in the world and shoot them into the sun on a giant slingshot. That's That's what I'd rather do than see Eric Schmidt on Under the Freeway, is load him and Ghislaine Maxwell up into the slingshot. But
well, I'm down with that. We should start a Kickstarter for this like billionaire slingshot thing. I'm down with that plan too, because Under the Freeway, I don't know. Yeah, he might figure some way to get out of it and get power.
Yeah, you may.
He might, because it's just too. But yeah, let's put him and Ghislaine Maxwell and Jean-Luc Brunel and just
Dick
one
Cheney.
Dick Cheney, the Clintons, everybody, just like send them out.
Well, it's like family-friendly viewing because they're launched at such speed. You don't see what happens to them, so you can the whole family can enjoy. Sorry, I'm just kidding.
Have a fun trip, just like the whole
These are the things I think about to make myself feel better when I write about these terrible people. I'm like, into the sun with you.
Good luck. Let us know how the sun goes. Let's hope that works. Just bring some sun. It's just like,
but really though, I mean, coming at this from the careers point of view, I think at this point is misguided, because we are really in a fight for our world, and there is so much important information that has to come out right now to change people's minds. I mean, we're at a really critical juncture, in world and also in American history. I mean, we really have to continue to speak truth to power and not, bow down to our unelected Silicon Valley overlords who, took CIA money. And, their head guy, Eric Schmidt, was, is a spook for who knows how many intelligence agencies, I guess. And, why are we going to do what those guys want? Do we want them to, have free reign to build the world that they want? Sounds nightmarish and hellish to me. So, no thanks. I mean, there's bigger things going on. And unfortunately, what they're trying to do, and what they've been trying to do the past 4 years, is force people in independent media that are making a difference into positions where, they have to choose, make some hard choices, especially when this type of censorship advances. They demonetize people, they take away people's revenue, they deplatform people from PayPal or Patreon. I mean, both of those services have sort of made some moves and deplatform people, but mainly sort of, extremist-ish people. But, there's a precedent that they may go forward with that. And of course, PayPal certainly will, because it's owned by Pierre Omidyar, the Intercept guy, who also is, funds a whole bunch of other shady stuff, including regime change in Ukraine in 2014 with the Obama State Department and things like that. So I wouldn't really expect him to leave people that challenge the establishment on there too much longer. But, anything like that is obviously going to interfere with the ability of people to receive income that do this type of work. And so that's why they're trying to target people in this way. But what we have to do is become more resilient and use services like Rockfin. And there's obviously other options too, besides Rockfin. But I mean, that's one that's definitely worked for me. I never made a YouTube channel because, I mean, by the time I was really doing a lot of the work that I do now, YouTube was already really heavily censoring people. And some people were really dependent too on, after 2016 had been dependent, for example, on Facebook pages that had millions of followers, and they got deplatformed without warning. Ones with 8 million followers, even more, and they lost, basically their followings and their audience overnight because they didn't have a backup. And really the only way we can fight that is to decentralize and diversify where we post our content and how people, in the different ways people can support us. And unfortunately, as these, the bad guys, up their game, we're going to have to adapt and maybe hop from platform to platform for a while until things change. But I mean, we really, I'm definitely, in the same boat as you, Graham. I'm not gonna bow down to these assholes because I don't want to give them free license to commit crimes that, and do, start wars, and, enact a bunch of Orwellian domestic policies that will basically end individual freedom and privacy in the United States forever, so they can surveil everything and harvest all your data. And build their, have a better AI algorithm than China and be the new market leader for the next bazillion years. I mean, that's what all these people care about. So I don't want a world that only cares about harvesting human data, to make money.
Yeah, and it's also, we can't count on the Democratic Party because we know that there's all these CIA Democrats with all these people who said, "Oh, I worked at the CIA."
Exactly.
in the Democratic Party. We can't count on them. And what is AOC and the tweet squad going to do? Just send out really sternly written tweets? They're not going to pass any legislation.
They'll probably tweet pictures on Madeleine Albright's birthday being like, she's my hero, example of female leadership. Ilhan Omar's done that a couple times. And with Margaret Thatcher, also another one of her heroes.
Yeah.
Margaret Thatcher.
Two awful people. So we can't count on them too, especially because they're definitely getting money. As you say, the Silicon Valley then donates to these Democrat campaigns so that they can just push this narrative. And now
totally. And these leadership positions, they control what the DNC does. And the DNC was doing a bunch of really weird stuff with voter data, making these new really suspect data warehouses and stuff that were being run by Google. And Google was also involved in DHS's CISA election center at the time while they're running this thing for the DNC. And there's like a bunch of other shady stuff that's been going on between the DNC and Silicon Valley for years that I really think should be, looked into. But, Silicon Valley oligarchs also, if you just look at, public campaign donations, donate much, at least in the last, couple cycles, have donated much more to Democrats than Republicans or Trump. And Biden was obviously their favorite candidate by a huge degree. But you also, what you mentioned with the CIA people, all these former CIA analysts ran in the 2018 midterms, and a ton of them got in. So a bunch of the Democrat congressmen in Congress right now are ex spooks, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the solution is like you say, it's going to Rockfin. It's platforms like that. I know Susie Dawson and Bill Binney are starting this panquake.com, which people can go there and donate. If they get enough money, they can start paying people to program it. Which is it's like a Twitter. Panquake is like a Twitter platform where they don't collect your data, and it's blockchain and it's open source. That's the key part too, is like open source blockchain technology so that they just can't.
I think Mastodon, which is a Twitter alternative, runs on something like that. But yeah, there aren't as many alternatives to the existing platforms as one would like. And a lot of people are spread out on a lot of the different alternative ones. I think it's really going to take some sort of coalition of big name independent media people to be like, you can find our stuff collectively at these platforms to try and get as much of, the collective audience to move somewhere, because the more fragmented we are too, the less people may see the content, if we're not all on the same platforms or we don't know about new platforms, and also it's a lot of work to have to repost all your stuff to like 12 different sites and stuff. But I mean, we are really at a point where we don't have a choice. So if you're watching this on YouTube right now, I'm assuming you agree, Graham, urge you to watch this on something else that's not YouTube as much as possible. So you can help us in giving these guys the middle finger, as they help destroy society.
Yeah, it's great because we have over 1,000 people watching on the live stream right now on YouTube. We have another handful of people watching on Rockfin. If you're watching this as a clip that's archived again, I was inspired by what the Wall Street Bets people did a couple weeks ago. And, we have to find inventive ways to kind of stick it to the ruling class. And one way is, as you say, is to circumvent these big, intelligence community backed platforms like Google and YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and all this other stuff. So I urge people, if you are watching this on YouTube, I am going to post like a clip a day on YouTube, but the majority of everything is going to be on Rockfin. And I have a bunch of free clips on Rockfin and some behind the premium paywall. So yeah, go support these things, because it's like they don't censor us there. They don't tell us what we can and cannot say. And they want indie media, because like the internet is like the last place that the ruling class, can't control. They control the corporate media. They control all of it. They control the courts. They control the two political parties. They control all this stuff. And they control social media. They control what you buy, what you think, all this stuff. And this is the last bastion of freedom of speech. So
because sorry to interject, but it's actually going to get much worse if Google's allowed to get away with this. And it's not just that's because they're not just trying to censor independent media so mainstream media can take over. Google right now is piloting projects, I think, in Turkey and a couple other countries to completely replace journalists with artificial intelligence and have your news be written by algorithms. And at the same time, you have these US military and national security state-linked guys at this company called Primer AI that used to develop AI for the Iraq war occupation to track insurgent activity. They have now turned their attention to checking fake news in real time with an AI algorithm, and they're on contract to do that from the US Air Force, the US military, and they turn in that product that is expected to partner with social media and things like that in March of this year. Actually, I wrote about them in December. So, you know, these are this is like the future of news. If people don't make an effort to support your favorite independent media content creators, it's not just it's about, you know, human made news, the future of that. It's even beyond like the future of honest news or independent news or anything like that. Are we going to, let these guys outsource it to an algorithm? Because, there's so many blogs and independent channels and things like that out there that they know it would cost them a lot of money to have like humans taking everything down. So they want to offset all of this to an algorithm as much as possible. And that's what they're trying to do. Take humans out of the equation and feed us information made by machines. And that they want to do that across industries too. It's not just media, but if you don't want your media to be, read to you by the great robot overlord, then maybe please help Graham's channel stay in good financial straits.
Yeah, don't let the robot overlords tell you what you're supposed to think. And it's another reason why they're trying to extradite and jail Julian Assange. It's why the work that he's done and Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning, it's why it's so important, because this is what they're trying to do. Control the narrative, control the information. Don't let anybody speak up. And anyone that's allowed to, quote, speak up is paid quite well, like, Rachel Maddow and, Anderson Cooper and folks like that. As long as they push the narrative, they can, and Fox News is allowed to speak up because they'll just blame everything on the Democrats and the evils of socialism or whatever. Like, oh, hey, socialism is going to take away your cows or whatever their crazy nonsense is. And then the MSNBC can just blame everything on Russia and the Republicans. That's permissible. That's even why you've seen like AOC go from, she doesn't criticize the Democratic Party anymore. She just blames everything on the Republicans. That's allowed. You can blame the other team. That's allowed, but you can't call out the system.
Those channels you just named, though, are allowed to like literally make up conspiracy theories all day long, and they never get in trouble for it. And then people like you and me talk about actual real things that they won't talk about, and then they're like, "You're the conspiracy theorist.
Oh yeah,
you must be taken off the internet, you naughty conspiracy theorist, thought criminals." So
it's unbelievable. They've been sitting like all these crazy Trump or QAnon people saying the election was rigged. You guys said Russia. You blamed Russia. You've been talking about Russia for 4 years. Like that wasn't a crazy conspiracy. Hillary loses and it's Russia's fault. And then Trump, I'm just so, they're all awful. Anyway, folks, go to rockfin.com and support what both Whitney and I and other shows are doing. And check out Whitney's Unlimited Hangout. Because it's she does fantastic work. Whitney, you do really deep dive, fantastic work. It's great having you on the show, and it's the kind of journalism that is hard to find now, and for the various reasons we've just been discussing. So please go to rockfin.com and support both of our shows. Hello, everybody. You're watching The Political Vigilante. I'm here with returning guest, friend of the show, Whitney Webb. And please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that. But we've been demonetized on YouTube for speaking the truth. They did not like Lee Camp and I doing our government secrets, where we talked about the JFK assassination. And literally under Lee Camp, we do the show live here, and then Lee puts the show on his YouTube, and I put it on my YouTube. So when Lee put it on his, underneath they put this thing saying like fake news, according to Encyclopedia Britannica and Wikipedia, Lee Harvey Oswald killed JFK. Oh, really? The most widely disputed, controversial assassination of the last 100 years. There's like books that are sourced with forensic evidence and all this stuff.
Yeah, it's like the most researched assassination ever, probably.
Ever. It is the most researched assassination ever. So all those books, all the documentaries, the movie, they're all wrong, but our good friends at CIA Tube say it's Lee Harvey Oswald.
Hey, isn't it amazing that 60 years after they're still so sensitive about it?
Yeah,
they'll like freak out if anyone questions the narrative. Really, really telling, guys, that you can't let people talk about it still. It's been a while.
And as we've discussed, Google, which owns YouTube, works with the intelligence community. And speaking of that, I wanted to talk about some of the new amazing Joe Biden cabinet picks. It's just a amazing litany of Wall Street warmongers, intelligence people, and like we saw Janet Yellen, so flagrant. She's got $810,000, from Citadel, and she's in charge of this Wall Street Bets Reddit.
Well, she also ran the Federal Reserve, which is like beholden to the interest of the biggest banks in the country. So, I mean, she knows who's in charge and is very happy to comply. That's why she's back in. So,
yeah. So tell us about this new, I think his name is Eric Landon. What new horrific deep state monster is this clown, and what awful shit is he going to help Biden do? But he'll do it, though, with a rainbow flag and diversity, I'm imagining, right? Like,
Well, actually, I mean, you're going to find it really funny because the guy, well, we'll go into it a little more, but he got in a lot of trouble in 2018 because he praised a very outspoken, super racist eugenicist. And academics that criticized him then in 2018, not that long ago, now are saying it's okay for him to be in Biden's administration because the person below him in this office is an African-American woman. So that absolves him of past racist and eugenicist affiliations. The fact that the person under him is a woman of color makes anything he's ever said and done perfectly fine. And he's, okay now.
I love how the identity politics is just like the Catholic Church going into a confessional. You just say a couple Hail Marys and hey, you're off the hook. You're all good. So it's just like, you've done awful shit. Well, either you or somebody next to you or supported, the vice president or assistant or undersecretary, as long as they're check some diversity boxes, it doesn't matter. It's so fantastic just how this works.
Yeah. So anyway, more about this guy, right? I probably should tell you who he is. So he's a professor at MIT. His name is Eric Lander. He was nominated, I think it was announced a month ago today, that he was going to be Biden's pick to head the White House's Office of Science and Technology Policy. But Biden, because, we all heard about how Trump hates science and Biden loves science and he will do everything that science, the great science wants. And that's how they sort of, spun this. So he said that because he loves science so much, he's going,
to accept the science of how awful fracking is. Apparently that science.
No, that's that's naughty science that we can't talk about.
It's like, don't worry about that science, how it pollutes water and causes earthquakes and it's all
destroys everything.
Destroys everything.
Fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Go tell us about.
We'll defund that science, but fund the science that Biden likes, and then he will believe science. That's basically how this works. It's so sad, but I mean, that's where we're at. So anyway, he was nominated to be in charge of this, but then Biden decided to elevate this position that Lander's going to fill for the first time ever up to his cabinet. So he's basically going to be on level with like Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, all of these guys. But he's the head of the Office of Science and Technology Policy. And so this means that this position for the first time ever is required. Lander will have to undergo Senate confirmation in order to fulfill this. or in order to fill this post, right? That he's been nominated to. But no one has really bought, they've really given him a pass, the media has, on a lot of things. And the main one is his ties to Jeffrey Epstein, because this guy is a Jeffrey Epstein funded scientist. And Jeffrey Epstein bragged on his website that the Jeffrey Epstein 6 Foundation had the privilege of funding Eric Lander's work. Eric Lander and his spokesperson, when this came out, the New York Times reported it, he didn't outright say, absolutely not, no funding from Epstein. He says, it appears that Epstein may have made this up. So why would you phrase it that way? Just a little weird. Yeah, and he's also photographed a meeting with Epstein in 2012 in the office of Martin Nowak, who is a Harvard professor that had arguably one of the closest ties to Epstein out of all of the academics that Epstein courted. So yeah, and there's a couple other reasons to be concerned about Eric Lander too, but the main thing is this Epstein stuff. I mean, really, you're going to nominate a guy that was funded by Epstein and lied about it, and met with him and, wasn't held accountable, and, we're just going to nominate him to this and give him a pass about it in the press. I mean, I would really like to see public pressure come from this and be like, we demand that Eric Lander at least be asked about the Epstein ties at the Senate confirmation hearing. But I have a feeling they're going to try and roll through that without bringing it up once, because after his nomination, BuzzFeed said in their report on Eric Lander that he did not take any funding from Epstein, totally ignoring the fact that Epstein said, I funded this guy. And it wasn't only until after the 2019 arrest that Eric Lander was like, no, he appears to have made it up, but he had no problem letting that be on Epstein's website and all the years prior. And it's on a list. It lists Lander and a couple other scientists that we know got Epstein funding, or we know had close Epstein ties, like Steven Pinker and some other people. So, why would Epstein, before he was infamous, put this guy on a list with a scientist he was actually funding, but not fund this guy? The story doesn't add up very much at all. So, I really would like to see this guy held to account about his Epstein ties at the confirmation hearing if possible, but it hasn't been reported. So hopefully, what I was trying to do in this article was spread awareness about that, to hope that, we don't nominate a scientist tied to Epstein to the highest science position in the United States government. I mean, that's just absolutely, it's insane when you consider the type of scientists that Epstein funded, who were like transhumanist, obsessed eugenicists that basically want to end humanity as we know it. And Epstein wanted to after he died, have his head in penis cut off and then put on a robot so he could live forever, and that's the kind of scientists he was funding, were people that were like, yeah, okay, we'll make that happen for you because you give us lots of money. So the fact that Biden is appointing one of these guys to the top positions is really alarming. And there's the other thing that I referenced earlier about the eugenicist praise that I can go into in a little bit if you want.
Yeah, before we get into that, I mean, we should point, I even did a video on this, and it's on my Epstein playlist of, Epstein has been, as you've stated, he, paid for a lot of scientists to come to his compound, and he was talking about all this crazy stuff that you've listed, but he also wanted to create some type of weird Epstein master race.
Yeah, he was a total eugenicist, but a lot of these scientists are too, including ones that he funded, like George Church, who tried to create this dating app that would compare your genome with your date's genome, so you didn't date someone with bad genes and stuff like that. And a lot of people involved in this elite circle of genetics that include Eric Lander and some other people like Craig Venter. They really have some crazy quotes. Craig Venter was one of the main people involved in the sequencing of the human genome in the 90s. And he said stuff like, we need to be able to Google our date's DNA if you're going to have kids with them and all this stuff. They sort of really push boundaries. And that's in their public statements, right? So who knows what they say during boys' time with all the young girls and Epstein, palling around in Little St. James. Because, these scientists went there, like Marvin Minsky, the MIT AI scientist that was close to Epstein, had a symposium for artificial intelligence in Epstein's Island in 2002, flew at all these big names. And those guys have ties to, you know, the Silicon Valley crowd of today also. And Eric Lander actually used to work for this contractor that a lot of other Epstein funded scientists worked for, that was called Thinking Machines, that was actually a DARPA contractor that built supercomputers for the military. And then their assets got divided up between Oracle and IBM, which are both huge tech companies today that have extensive ties to U.S. intelligence. And then the other one was Sun Microsystems, who's one of their top executives at the time is Eric Schmidt. And so now Eric Lander also runs something that's called the Broad Institute, and they just teamed up with Google to give Google basically access to a bunch of electronic health records of Americans through the Broad Institute's partnerships with healthcare networks throughout the country. And so they partnered with Google to create this new open data ecosystem that's going to allow Google to harvest all of that sweet data from, you know, private health records of Americans. So that was announced like right before, or maybe it was right after his nomination by the Biden administration. So, you know, this Silicon Valley tie comes up a lot in this type of stuff. So he's going to be the top science guy. He has these ties to Silicon Valley. He has these ties to Epstein. And he also, one of the people he worked with when he was involved in the Human Genome Project was James Watson, who some people may know as the co-discoverer of the double helix shape of DNA with Crick and Watson, right, were the scientists to discover that. On a side note, it was apparently a woman played a big role in that, and they totally sidelined her and cut her out of the story so they could take all the credit. But aside from that, Watson was a total racist, crazy eugenicist dude who had to basically, you know, despite being so famous for discovering this, had to completely retreat from public life because he said that the genes of African people of African descent make them stupid. And he refused to back down from that. And he said it on interviews with like a bunch of MSM channels, including like the BBC in the UK, was straight up. And he said things like, we can't apply Western political philosophy and policies to Africa because they're genetically and mentally inferior to us and things like this. And so in 2018, after this guy has been super controversial and pushed out of science circles for saying all of this, Lander offers a toast to the guy, saying that he inspired everyone to redefine science, and he pushed boundaries and to make the world a better place and all of this stuff, and got a lot of controversy because why would you say that about a guy that everyone knows is a crazy racist asshole? But apparently that's fine for Biden.
Well, yeah, I mean, Kamala Harris is the first Black woman vice president, so it's all good.
That's
right?
really how this works, though.
Yeah.
You know, because Biden worked with all the segregationists when he was senator, and he gave the eulogy for Strom Thurmond when most Democrats at the time boycotted his funeral because Strom Thurmond was probably one of, if not the most racist members of Congress in the 20th century, who filibustered the big filibuster of the civil rights law, tried to run for president to keep the races separated until the end of time and all of this stuff. And Joe Biden gives the eulogy for him and likes to talk about how great and bipartisan he was by reaching across the aisle to like the worst people in the Republican Party. You know, if you're going to reach across the aisle, does it really have to be to Strom Thurmond? But, you can see why he wouldn't be offended necessarily by Lander's comments, Biden, right? But the impression the Biden administration is trying to give out that they're the least racist ever and Trump was the Nazi racist, and racism is gone in the U.S. now because Kamala's VP, even though she had no delegates and no one wanted her to win except for, the oligarchs. It just doesn't make any sense. It's a really sad narrative. So the fact that they're trying to be like, well, his number two woman, the number two person will be an African American, like that's supposed to make this guy any better. That doesn't take the Epstein money away, It's
take the Epstein money away. It's like, hey, well, Ghislaine Maxwell and all these other women, Epstein had a bunch of women working for him. Oh, great. He had women selling and raping children. Oh, wonderful. Like, yay. It's so stupid. And I'm mystified, like how the vote any blue will do liberal crowd how they just will listen. Some of them are watching this video right now and they're just going to go, yeah, but still better than Trump or whatever. Like they're just so out of their mind delusional.
Yeah, well, when Obama was president, a lot of people that were super mad about Bush just totally checked out for 8 years.
Right.
And unfortunately, there's going to be some of those people that now that Trump's gone are going to try and check out for 4 years. But, I'm of the belief that we don't have even 4 years to just, wait it out and be like, well, we'll elect a progressive in 2024, against Nikki Haley. Oh my God. They're already talking about her being the Republican person. I just, we really can't afford to be checked out at this point in time, because what we're seeing right now is an unprecedented effort by the richest people in the world to make a giant neo-feudal underclass that they are basically trying to make, police state, make them live in tech-fueled police states is where a lot of this agenda is going. I can't understand why people would be willing to just sit back and let these guys build a future like that for people. I mean, what do you think the craziest billionaires and most predatory billionaires in the world are going to do if you never hold them accountable for anything and you just let them walk all over you? I mean, they used to just straight up murder people in the Industrial Revolution. I mean, you think they give a flying F about you?
Look, this from interviewing Maria Farmer. I mean, they've just murdered people. I mean, Maria Farmer talked about all the young girls and women who just disappeared. They have no problem. They have no problem with this. I mean, so it's really, yeah. I mean, so how, I don't even know where to begin, but when is Eric Lander's confirmation hearing?
It hasn't been scheduled yet, but it should be in the next couple of weeks. I'll be keeping tabs on it on Twitter. But I mean, if they go through this guy's confirmation hearing and they don't ask him about Epstein once, and that was such a huge story, and this guy took a bunch of money from him and then lied about it, I mean, that I pointed out some other reasons for concern with this guy, right? But I mean, there needs to be pressure to have this guy asked about his Epstein ties, if nothing to raise awareness about it. I mean, Epstein was openly a eugenicist that was into science for really creepy stuff. And the other geneticists that he was involved with, not counting Eric Lander, were involved in really shady stuff. Eric Lander has his own history. It really needs to be called out. I mean, we just really can't let the Epstein stuff just fade and be memory hold forever, because that's how that stuff happens again. I mean, because there's been no real investigation, who knows, it could be happening right now. But we just can't be like, this is fine when this type of stuff happens. So I really hope that there's some sort of pushback. And this is a pretty easy one, right? Because Epstein ties are juicy. It's a Biden nominee. The Senate hearing is going to be publicly broadcast. It could be a good opportunity for a question, but I don't have enough influence to get it up there. But maybe if we spread the info around enough, more people will know about this and hopefully pressure their representatives to ask Eric Lander what the nature of his ties to Jeffrey Epstein were. I mean, I don't expect him to give an honest answer, but at least, poke the guy a little bit. You got to at least ask it. Otherwise, it's pathetic, honestly.
Yeah. So yeah, that's one thing people can do here watching this show. So share this clip out, but also ask these people. I'm assuming Bernie Sanders will be on the Senate confirmation hearing. So
maybe,
whoever's on it, ask that they ask these questions and, demand that they ask these questions about his ties to Epstein, because this is just horrific. Anyone with ties to Epstein, I'm sorry, man. They're just guilty. The hell with them. Fry them. I know. And how is this allowed? I mean, yeah. and you're all like, oh, yay, Trump's gone. Ding dong, the witch is dead. And now they're just bringing in more horrific people. They're not overt racist, but they're just getting money from a pedophile eugenicist. Oh, yay, we did it. We fixed. So, yeah, like you say, it's more people are waking up. More people are paying attention because they're just forced to. We just had this second impeachment trial, but we can't get our $2,000 checks yet. we can't get free health care.
Well, now you're going to get a 9/11 style commission on January 6th instead of stimulus checks, because now they've gone from impeachment. And so now we've had the commission announced, and now that's going to be the big distractor. Nancy Pelosi is like, just being the ringmaster of the biggest bread and circuses, brouhaha in like in modern history. Just wasting everyone's time. I think that's what she's honestly just doing, though, is just wasting everyone's time on purpose.
Yeah.
They want, in my opinion, they want things to get worse, because then the billionaires that fund them can sweep in and buy up everything. Bill Gates is now, the biggest owner of farmland in the U.S. apparently. And Biden, in his new, the Stimulus Act, eliminates farm aid. So more farms are likely to go under. Who do you think is going to swoop in and buy those farms up when they go bankrupt?
I think that's absolutely correct. I mean, there is a huge housing bubble. There's a commercial real estate bubble, because you've got all these people have been doing what the forbearance, right? So homeowners, whatever, small business owners, rental property owners have been, since the pandemic started last year, have said, oh, give me a forbearance. Yeah. And they haven't been paying their mortgage in 6, 9, 10 months, 11 months, whatever. And so that payment's going to come due, and the new stimulus plan might just kick it down the road. But each month you don't pay that forbearance, there's the interest on it, the property tax, the escrow, all this stuff. So people are going to get these big bills from their mortgage company going, well, here's 16 months of not paying your mortgage. Now here's this lump sum. And so there's going to be these mass foreclosures. I've talked a lot about the 30 million evictions that are looming. And I think this is all by design, that they're going to swoop in. That's why they're delaying. And again, more bread and circuses to distract people from the fact, because they want all this real estate to go up on the market, because they snatched it up. That's what they did 10 years ago. And so that's what Pelosi and all these billionaire assholes are going to do. And that's why they just keep distracting us with this nonsense, and no one's going to hold any of them accountable. And people that voted for Biden, who were celebrating in the streets, if you don't hold these people that you voted for accountable, and when I'm critical of them, or you on social media, I always get somebody going, Graham, go easy. He's only been in office 3 weeks or whatever. And I'm like, don't be mean on the squad. They're our allies. Well, okay, then do what you said you were going to do. Lindsey Graham has never promised me a goddamn thing. Neither is Mitch McConnell or any of those maggots in the Republican Party. So these fake progressive Democrats have promised us things. They said they're going to fight for Medicare for all and $2 UBI and all this crap. And then when they don't do it, I'm supposed to and then they get idiots at The Intercept to write these articles like, force the votes, now's not the time. Well, when is the time? When is the time? When there's a worse pandemic? When is the time? And so we're just going to get more distracted. Yeah. And meanwhile,
it's just like how QAnon wanted people on the right to sit on their asses and not do anything and trust the plan. I mean, they're trying to do the same thing to, people on the other side of the political spectrum. I mean, not QAnon style, but also being like, well, you just have to wait. Now's not the time. We have to wait till we have a bigger majority in Congress. We have to wait until this and this happens. We have to wait until after the next midterms. We can't compromise the midterms right now. They always have the same excuses, and the people that keep falling for it. I mean, it's getting to the point where, like, you are part of the problem. Look at history, what these people do, and who ends up benefiting, from this stuff. And, now is not any different. Yeah. But the problem is, because of the situation now, we don't have 4 years or even 2 years probably to the next midterms to kick this can down the road indefinitely. No. I mean, it's absolutely insane to think that, you're not going to have mass evictions by the time of the next 2024 election. Where are people going to be living? I mean, people worrying about who they're going to vote for might actually be the least of people's problems at that point, depending on how things play out in the next couple of years. People may just be wanting to survive. You know what I mean? So we're really out of time to just assume that, we can get the right people in the right position and then everything will be fine. As long as we elect the right people, they'll be like the Justice League and they'll magically fix everything for us. That's not how this works. And, these guys aren't the real seat of power anyway. The national security state tells these, which is the military and intelligence, tells these guys what to do, and they listen. because these guys know how to get you to go along with the plan. They have a lot of practice.
Yeah.
So we can't really depend on these people. We have to do stuff ourselves. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of these, oligarchs have plans for some of these unfortunate things that are likely to happen. So you have this plan going on the West Coast, where big Silicon Valley companies are saying they're going to start housing the homeless. But those are going to be, they have Internet of Things stuff. They run on 5G. They're basically surveillance pods. And so they're free and you're allowed to be in them. But Silicon Valley is harvesting data off of you in exchange for these free services. And that's where a lot of this stuff is going to. There's actually an effort that's being funded by the NIH and some other, U.S. government bodies, the National Science Foundation, to create wearables that will be, instead of sending people to prison for opioid addiction, they'll give you like tracking bracelets that can predict if you will be if you crave using an opioid, and then the government can come in and intervene before you relapse, sort of like this pre-crime approach to treating the opioid pandemic that collects all of your biometric stuff. And they're marketing this as a way to reduce the prison population. It may reduce the prison population, but is this really the way to do it? Why not just end the war on drugs and things like that? But a lot of these like tech-powered solutions, we're going to see this stuff be really heavily promoted by the Biden administration, not just for COVID-19, but for a swath of different issues facing the U.S. And so, this benefits Silicon Valley, and they would like to see the largest group of people, or a certain number of people, whoever can fit in these projects or whatever they're creating, to be in that desperate situation and then receive them and this stuff. I mean, they're making these plans for a reason. They plan to use them. So why not allow conditions to develop until people are desperate enough to accept these new invasive technologies into their lives, which is something that, the national security state and their private sector arm, Silicon Valley, both benefit from and both want. If you read their documents and their plans for the next several years and the fourth industrial revolution and their push to modernize in the era of AI to compete with China, but it's really about more than that, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. And then getting back to and then ushering in some Epstein-funded eugenicist weirdo.
Yay! Send him to the top of science.
Yeah.
We love science. We believe in science. Epstein-funded eugenicist to the very top. It sends a great message, doesn't it? It's wild.
You really see the sort of like big play by the ruling elite. So they QAnon, clearly a psyop, and then they helped amplify the lack of science by the Trump administration to say, oh, science. And then Trump obviously gladly helped by doing nothing with COVID, which made people go, oh, Trump doesn't know what he's doing. And so then that just paves the way for, oh, we need a new science czar. And it's so we just, because we're all about the science, and then no one's going to ask questions about this guy's ties. It's the same sort of, playbook they've used with the Capitol, right? While it really feels like, and we're going to get into this segment in a second, but it really feels like the FBI, the head of the Proud Boys was an FBI informant. Like the FBI helped do this.
And his Oath Keepers. The two main groups they fear-mongered about being there, the heads of both of them are feds.
And it's like, well, yeah, but and the neo-Nazis, they're in this country and they're scary, but it seems like it's really easy for the feds to get those sort of loose cannon neo-Nazis to do their bidding. And then you can blame it on all them, which justifies the censorship across the board. Why my show and others, I'm on the left, being censored. And then just like they're going to wheel in Patriot Act 2.0. And with this, like you said, this Capitol Commission, that's going to be more of a waste of time of taxpayer dollars.
Well, they're calling it a 9/11 style commission. And that's just insane. And people are being like, oh, yes, a report as authoritative as the 9/11 Commission report. I mean, that's just madness. honestly. But also, I mean, you look at the impeachment trial that was all about January 6th, really. Where was the talk of the DC police stand down and how they flagged people in? I mean, they have no interest in actually finding out what happened on that day. So maybe the 9/11 parallel is accurate, but what you can expect if it is an actual 9/11 commission style commission is, the co-chairs of the 9/11 commission wrote a book, and they talked about how the commission was lied to, underfunded, had its powers of investigation extremely limited, among other glaring issues, and they said it was in fact not an authoritative account, and that there were numerous key questions about the 9/11 attacks that their report was unable to answer. So that is maybe they're being honest by telling you that this is the type of report that you will be getting. With, millions of dollars of taxpayer money while we, all wait for money to live off of. You can't pay your landlord in bullshit impeachment trials and bullshit Nancy Pelosi run commissions. So, I don't think it's going to work out.
But Nancy Pelosi gave me a 50-cent off coupon for ice cream, and I'm going to give that to my landlord.
Oh my God. I can't believe how out of touch she is. I mean, what a ghoul. I mean, she looks like she's perpetually melting. And she's like offering people her favorite ice cream in her freezer. It's
Oh God. Folks, please check out Whitney Webb stuff, Unlimited Hangout on Rockfin. Support us both on Rockfin. It's a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. They pay the content creators in crypto, so it's actually more valuable as the US dollar becomes devalued because of inflation and printing money. Cryptocurrency goes up in value. The Ray token, which is the currency that they pay us in at Rockfin, a year ago it was trading about 50 cents. Today it's about $3.50. So please go to rockfin.com/Graham Elwood to support what I'm doing and what Whitney's doing. And for $10 a month, you get all of our premium content. So please check that out and support what Whitney is doing. We've got 1,300 people watching. Please hit the like button, share this out. Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood. You are watching The Political Vigilante. We are joined by the... I don't know how to say this. You're just like powerhouse, Whitney.
Oh, thanks.
But every time you come on the show, I'm always like, Jesus, like I didn't know, man. You come in with so much information. I'm like, wow, like you're just like, I just gotta make sure I got my shit ready because I'm like, Whitney's gonna just be throwing haymakers of truth on everybody today, and the way you connect the dots.
Thanks.
like,
Sometimes it's hard having so much stuff in my brain.
Well, I totally understand that. I totally understand the like, I know too much, and you're just and this person and the connect to that and everything. Yeah. So we to let everybody know, it's in the scroll below right now. My show two weeks ago was demonetized by YouTube, which was about 60% of the show's total revenue. So we need your support, as you see in the scroll and also in the show notes. There's a Venmo. There's also a PayPal button on my YouTube page, and in the show notes too, I have Bitcoin and Ethereum wallets, as I'm getting way more into crypto. And then, of course, Whitney and I are both over at rockfin.com, and it's free to sign up for Rockfin. I've got a lot of free content up there, and then the premium content gives you access to everybody on the platform's premium content. So I wanted to talk to you about, we were just talking about the Capitol, and so this is and we were talking about Biden's pick, Aaron Landon, and we've been talking about censorship. So you've uncovered, or it's come out basically that there was someone at the Capitol that got was a socialist or something. Like, tell us this story now.
Well, it's from the Washington Post. I think it was today. But I didn't personally cover it. And I just brought it up because, earlier you're talking about things that were interesting to talk about for today's show. And I had seen, this article, and I think it really paired well with what we talked about when I was on last time about how this war on domestic terror that's being justified by January 6th, how its intention is to go after dissent on both sides under the guise of combating domestic terrorism, and that they plan, when convenient, to use the boogeyman of white supremacists on the right and Antifa on the left to, justify censorship on both sides, and also these predictive policing, pre-crime sort of arrests for domestic terrorism, which we saw also on the war on terror, right? People could be arrested as terrorists or tried as terrorists without actually having committed the crime. And in a lot of those cases, the FBI was setting up a lot of those people with informants or things like that to take part in those terrorist attacks. And then right before they can commit them, the FBI swoops in and busts its own plot that it paid to be created, basically. And that was the case with the Governor Whitmer kidnap plot last year. And that is also the case, as we mentioned in the last segment, about the head of Proud Boys and also Oath Keepers, two of the groups that were most fear-mongered about in relation to January 6th. The heads of both of those are informants for law enforcement, and in some cases DHS also, which I guess would be like federal law enforcement. So that's pretty telling. And also, I mentioned this last time, last March, DHS, in coordination with the FBI, announced that they were basically going to be launching at some point very soon a new war on domestic terror, and that there was going to be a 9/11 style event that was going to come, and they could see it building, but they couldn't quite stop it. And then that would basically be the pivot point at which this new war on domestic terror would have to take place and things like that. And that they were targeting the far right, white supremacists, things like this. This is what they say in this hearing last March. And then January 6th happens. You have all these allusions to Pearl Harbor, 9/11. Now to investigate it, there has to be a 9/11 style commission. And right after January 6th, you have a Democratic Congresswoman, Alyssa Slotkin, who was one of these CIA Democrats that was, I think, voted in 2018 that used to work for the CIA. And she immediately says, this is a dividing point in American history. This is just like 9/11. And now this is the war on domestic terror. Starts now. I mean, she pretty much just like laid it straight out. So, I think that's part of the censorship too, that we talked about earlier, is that they want a very specific narrative to stick about January 6th. And there's a reason. But there's a fatal flaw to that, and that is their unwillingness to acknowledge that DC police stood down and allowed that to happen. In some case, opened the doors for these people or waved them in. And so far, there's been no effort to answer that. And it's very likely that the 9/11 style commission of January 6th won't either. But the case of this guy that was they were talking about in the Washington Post recently, his name is Daniel Baker. He was arrested, I think, on January 16th or 15th, several days after the attack. And it was just because the attack, the insurrection, there's so many words that get thrown around for January 6th. I don't even know what to call it anymore.
Call it maybe the FBI false flag. Anyway, there we could call it a lot of different.
But basically, this guy is Daniel Baker is a veteran, but he didn't go to Iraq. He apparently got discharged. They wouldn't say why, but one of the reasons he didn't want to go was because he heard his fellow soldiers, I guess, when still in the states, brag about raping women. And so he decided not to deploy overseas. He ended up fighting with the YPG, like the Kurdish militia in Syria against the Islamic State. There were some, like American socialists that went over there to fight alongside them, inspired by their social structures and things that are unique to that particular group. And there's some people, like I think the guy that hosts the TrueAnon podcast that some people that follow Epstein News a lot may know of. One of the co-hosts on there also did that. So he, identifies as a socialist, sort of like a socialist anarchist type figure, but based on his social media posts alone is basically what he's been, sentenced. Well, I don't know if he's been sentenced yet, but a judge saw him and agreed with the FBI's argument that his social media post was enough to treat him as a domestic terror threat, basically. And this is just really dangerous and shows you that the far right is not the target. This guy didn't shoot anyone. He wasn't a white supremacist at the Capitol. And, I don't know enough about the background of the guy. I mean, maybe there's something shady in there, but the precedent they're setting here is what we should be alarmed about, right? So maybe this Daniel Baker guy did do something weird in his past, or maybe you can argue that his social media posts were whatever. But I mean, if it's really getting to the point where people of any political variety, the FBI doesn't like what you write online, and they're going to take you to try you for, as a domestic terror threat in your own country. I mean, that is like not just gutting free speech, that is creating a huge chilling effect on free speech. Specifically with what you post about your political views and things like that. And also shows that the FBI, the type of power grabs that law enforcement is trying to make in this new era where they're trying to create this new war on domestic terrorism, they have to be fought tooth and nail because they're obviously planning to use this type of, technology, because a lot of the ways they scrape social media posts is done, in automated ways, or they use, Palantir or some software like that to go through this stuff. And Palantir has a little tab where you can mark a person as a subversive and things like that, So, this is just, a lot of people after January 6th were, sort of cheering this stuff on the left. And I think this is a really good cautionary tale of why that's not necessarily a great idea, because even the guy's social media posts, I mean, I read them, the ones they had in the article, and they didn't really seem that bad. I've seen people say worse stuff on Twitter all the time. I mean, after January 6th, there were a bunch of people that were like, we need to go and take down the racist mobs, and we need to go, kill the Nazis and whatever. And I mean, his were kind of like that, and he didn't have like a huge cachet of weapons at his house. He had like a personal handgun. He's like an he's a veteran. I mean, that's not weird. But they raided his house and arrested him just because they didn't like his social media posts. He's a guy on the opposite end of the ideological divide, and appears to have a propensity to not want to commit war crimes on behalf of the U.S. government, based on his, military record. So it's just, it's a bizarre and very alarming story. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that. And, the involvement of social media companies in this too, going back to them into Silicon Valley, that can't be ruled out either. I mean, they're a key player in this. They oftentimes flag this stuff and send it to law enforcement themselves. The Anti-Defamation League, for example, has a hate lab in Silicon Valley that used to flag speech they don't like. The ADL is basically a front for Israel's government. They're basically a lobbying arm. They conflate, support of Palestinian rights with anti-Semitism all the time. So they routinely flag speech that should not be flagged just because of their political affiliations. They also have a lot of ties to organized crime in the United States historically as well, the Anti-Defamation League, but that's kind of a story for another day. But I mean, that's the organization involved in flagging this stuff. And they're also involved in telling the FBI and DHS who to investigate, the different field offices of the FBI, who to investigate as a domestic terrorist if they get a tip or something like that, or they decide they don't like someone's social media post, they go and they report them. And at this hearing I mentioned last March, they straight up acknowledge that. And it's really amazing to see the role that the Israel-Palestinian conflict plays in this censorship as it's going forward. We recently just had Nathan Robertson of Current Affairs. He got fired from The Guardian because they were policing his tweets on social media. He made a joke tweet about Israel's the military aid it receives from the United States, and he got let go. But he said he wasn't supposed to talk about it from the Guardian of the editor. And they gave him the most bullshit excuse ever. And it was for a really sanitized tweet on that stuff. So, why can't we criticize them or talk honestly about how much money a year goes to that? Why Americans are starving and about to be evicted and stuff like that? I mean, it seems pretty reasonable. But this is the danger of putting these organizations with conflicts of interest or very dangerous track records, giving them so much power and allowing them to use people's free speech against them and send them to prison for stuff they post online. I mean, that's just.
This is insane. I mean, you're describing a guy, it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, who is like a socialist that's an anti-war veteran. I mean,
came across that way. I mean, it's the Washington Post, and like I said, I haven't reported on it myself, but it's very instructive that this is not just going after people on the right and people that like Trump. I mean, they are looking to take out anyone that has views they don't like, and that should really alarm us.
Yeah. Wow. This is like, yeah, it is so alarming. And again, everyone who was just cheering, for all this censorship right after January 6th, I'm like, this is dangerous. They're like, yeah, but it was awful. Yeah, it was awful. And as I've talked about in earlier segments, I mean, the laws are on the books of the crimes that were committed at the Capitol. They're on the books, and people are being prosecuted. They've arrested people, but now they're just anyone's social media they don't like. This is why they're just sweeping. Again, like you bring up the Patriot Act. I mean, a friend of mine wrote political cartoons during the Iraq war, and he was like put on the no-fly list. I mean, like they can just do stuff like that to anybody they don't like.
And why do you think the president now is the guy that used to brag about writing the Patriot Act right when they're about to roll out Patriot Act 2.0 for the war on domestic terror? I mean, it seems really convenient. They're like, that seems like the guy for us to have in the White House.
Yeah. And you're seeing all the different ways they're doing it. So they're just like you're saying, they're using the software to just scour social media. And they're firing a guy from The Guardian for just being critical of the money we're giving to AIPAC. I mean, my show has been demonetized because I've said anti-war stuff. I've held the Democrats accountable. I've held just recently leading up to the videos I did leading up to getting demonetized was like holding Janet Yellen accountable for her ties to Wall Street. And then the Biden press secretary, Jen Psaki, not answering a direct question. Lee Camp and I talking about a book that has sourced, Freedom of Information Act documents, bringing into question who actually killed JFK. And I get demonetized for that because they want me to they want to shut me up. They want me to start self-censoring. I'm hearing other indie media people saying, well, I'm going to pull down this video and that video because I want to get my monetization back, or I don't want to get demonetized or whatever. And you're just seeing all of the little tactics that they use to censor you or just flat out arrest you if they've got anything to hang on you. And it's like, and then the corporate media, which is bought and paid for by all this, will say, oh, this radical had a cache of weapons or something. And it's like, he had one handgun, whatever, like radicalized army vet,
Well, there was a guy at January 6th, though, that had a truck full of explosives and they didn't charge him for that. He had a whole bunch of homemade napalm. Basically, they called it an explosive. The FBI did in the documents when he went to court or whatever. And they didn't charge him for that. They charged him for something else, his firearm wasn't registered or something. But he's like, oh yeah, all that napalm you brought to throw at Congress is fine. It just really says a lot, you know what I mean? And that this isn't about fighting terrorism, just like the war on terror wasn't, wasn't about fighting terrorism. It actually created more of it. So what do you think this will do? I mean, the same sort of deal. There's a lot of other agendas going on right now that they know if they just put them out there would not be popular and rejected. They've to manufacture consent for those things. The big one being their push to inject AI into the economy, which is going to automate a bunch of jobs and mean a bunch of people will never get their jobs back that lost them in COVID-19. And they want a repressive tech-fueled police state to be able to be there to manage all of these people that are unemployed and maintain control, because all these people care about is maintaining the status quo where the U.S. is the global hegemon and number one militarily and economically, and they sit at the top of the power structure in the U.S. and get to do whatever they want, and they're it's good for them, and have this elite class while everyone else is getting crushed. I mean, we can't go on like this. And I mean, there's just so much to say here with this Daniel Baker case. But they want us to be scared. They want us to not speak up. They want us to self-censor. And the only way they can get away with this is if we let them divide us. That's why they're trying to sell this to us as, oh, this is just going after this one type of extremist group. I mean, most Americans probably think that they hear war and domestic terror and all this stuff. They probably think, oh, that's only for white supremacists. Well, now we know it's clearly not. Right. And it's clearly not going to be used that way. It's not just going to be to censor racist assholes online or anything like that. It's going to be to censor anyone that's, not towing the party line or the state line at this point. And we just can't let that continue. And we can't continue to be divided so easily. I mean, January 6th was really, I think it's something that we need to look back on and we need to learn from and see how they were able to so successfully divide us with this psyop manufactured for media. I mean, it was basically about getting video clips to outrage Americans. I mean, looking back now on some pictures of like Viking QAnon shaman dude walking in, it's him. And then he's surrounded by like 8 photographers. You look, they're holding cameras and stuff. I mean, how is that? That doesn't seem normal for like this whole insurrection narrative we're being told, among numerous other things. And so I think we need to reflect back and see how they were able to so successfully divide us and get so many people on the left to cheer this stuff on. We have to wise up and quickly because they'll keep doing it again and they'll do it. And then, it'll be we'll stand to lose more that time, whether in terms of civil liberties or privacy or something else. And, we really can't afford that anymore. And the more we allow this censorship agenda to advance, the less opinions like this will be able to get to reach people, which is also concerning. We really need to rise above this attempt to divide us, because that's really if we allow them to divide us, I mean, they can win. And I would like to return to the point that these billionaires, the oligarchs, have transcended their party lines and their ideologies, right? So you have like Peter Thiel, the libertarian, working with the woke people in Silicon Valley to enslave us all. I'm so glad they got over their ideological differences to work together to destroy the planet, So, I mean, why can't we do the same? I really don't understand. Not everyone that supports Trump is a crazy racist that foams at the mouth. I mean, and it's just really cartoonish to say that and to talk down about people that are, we're all increasingly in the same boat here. And if we don't get our shit together and tell the billionaires to screw off, I mean, the billionaires are playing for keeps right now. They don't plan to have to deal with dissent for much longer if they get to, install and enact the policies and technologies that they're looking to do. And I really don't want to live in that world. Hopefully a lot of other people don't either.
Yeah, their tactic is very simple. I've talked about this on this show since in the 4 years I've been doing it, because it just becomes very obvious. Their whole goal is keep us divided, distracted, and afraid. That's it. That tactic works, because if we all get together, because they realize that the Trump supporter, I mean, look, I just watched this movie, Judas and the Black Messiah, about Fred Hampton. I've talked about Fred Hampton numerous times on this show. He united working class white people, Latino, Black people. He was the chairman of the Black Panther Party of Illinois. I mean, he went to working class white people and said, we're on the same side in this fight against capitalism. So
nothing scares them more than that. Nothing scares them more than that. That's why Fred Hampton was murdered.
Yes.
That's why Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, when he started talking about economic equality for all Americans.
When Malcolm X started to realize him and Dr. King had more in common, when he started to unify with King, he got murdered. When Bobby Kennedy was like, oh, I'm not going to be, like my dad wants me to be, just this corporate oligarch kid. And anybody unites people, man, they get murdered. Now they don't just assassinate. Assassination is too clumsy for the ruling class. They just buy people, co-opt them, get sheep herders like Bernie Sanders or whatever they did. I don't know if they threatened to kill Bernie's grandchildren or whatever they did to get him to just mollify or whatever their tactics are, buy people off, AOC, she's going to fight for us. And then they probably, I don't know if they threatened her. They said, look, we're going to let you run for president in 2028 when you're 35.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure 2 more years AOC will be meeting with Henry Kissinger.
Yeah.
And he'll be preparing her for her new leadership role. I mean, that's how I see that playing out. I don't have any faith in that, and I haven't for a long time. I mean, when she first came out with her draft, this is when she, first won her primary and stuff. She released her like a draft of what a Green New Deal would be from her, office if elected or whatever. And it was basically what Nancy Pelosi wanted to fight climate change. It was all cap and trade, which is incidentally the policy supported by the big oil companies. They love cap and trade. So, then I was kind of like, yeah, that's disappointing. I wrote an article when I was at Mint Press News about that, got tons of hate mail because she had the celebrity appeal. And, unfortunately, it seems like people, that tend to vote Democrat are more susceptible to that political celebrity crap. They did it with Obama to great effect. And they still milk it. I mean, they still do it with Michelle Obama and like these people that they sort of made this political celebrity royalty class, and it becomes more about their clothes than about their policies. Right.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris, they do that all the time. They're like, look at Kamala Harris wears Converse. I'm like, so does like a bazillion other people. And most of them are like preteen mall rats. So like, I'm not impressed. It's just so ridiculous. But they have focused a lot on that and like her pantsuits and all this stuff. They do the same thing with Hillary Clinton, the pantsuits. Like no one cares what the war criminal wears. Like, into the sun.
Into the sun. Launch them into the sun. Launch them into the sun. No, they just did an article about Jill Biden was at the store wearing a scrunchie, and people said that she feels so relatable. It's like, oh wow, she's married.
Is that real?
That's like, it's a real thing. It's really like
they have really reached rock bottom of groveling crap. There was also one about like Joe Biden playing Mario Kart. And it's like, all right, like, I don't even think Joe Biden's capable of playing Mario Kart. I mean, it takes you have to use at least 2 thumbs and coordinated movements. And I don't really see Biden being capable of that.
Yeah. Launch him into the sun, Whitney. That's launch the ruling class into the sun. I really if I were to ever run for president, that would be my campaign. I'm going to launch.
It's also mine. So we'd have to be running mates, I guess now.
Fine by me, man. I'll be whatever. I'll be your VP. I don't care. That's my platform, dude. I'm in. Launch him into the sun. I'll be
That's the only policy I would run on. It would literally just be that. And then I'm out,
Because once we launch them into the sun, then we can let everybody else just go back to democracy.
Things can go back to normal.
Yeah, let solutions come up their own way after we've launched the ruling class.
Man.
Well, Whitney, great having you on the show today. Tell everybody where they can find your work, and you do great work. So where can they find it?
All right, so I'm mostly writing for my website, unlimitedhangout.com. I also, Unlimited Hangout has a channel on Rockfin. It also has one on Odyssey, Odyssee. I also have, I have my Twitter account that you can still follow for now, but I expect to be deplatformed at some point because now Jack is following me, and that weirds me out. So who knows how long I have, but you can follow me on Mastodon, and which is a Twitter alternative. And I have other links too, but I can't remember them right now. So I have a link tree. I just posted it on my Twitter recently. So if you go to my Twitter, you can click that and find links to all of my where you can find all of my content. I also contribute to the Last American Vagabond, so like my author page there is there. So you just go through those, and you'll be able to find all of my stuff. One really good way to keep up with my stuff, have like a personal, I guess, news feed of content I put out, is on Telegram. Unlimited Hangout has a Telegram channel on there. You look it up, and every time I post new content, I put it right in there, and you can see it on your phone right away. But all of these platforms at some point are probably going to be targeted, so we have to, keep in mind that we're going to have to hop around as they target one platform after another. Now it's Parler. They already said they might look at Telegram. There new information's come out about Signal that makes it look a lot more suspect than it did before, and things like that. So we're just going to have to be, adapting as these things come out. But it's the only way forward, only way to really fight back and continue speaking truth to power. which thank you for doing, Graham. It's hard to be demonetized. It really sucks. But, it's just, in my opinion, it's proof that you're having an impact. So, that's awesome in a sense.
I think I'm going to, when things open back up and I go back on the road with Ron Placone, I'm going to have shirts that say demonetized. I think because it's something we should all be proud of that we've been through.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Whitney. And of course, folks, I'm going to be going up on the Political Vigilante is going to be on Odyssey as well. I've reached out to them. They really are excited to have me on their platform. And then please go to rockfin.com /Graham Elwood. You can sign up for free. And again, Whitney's there, Convo Couch, Ron Placone, Lee Camp, Jimmy Dore, Kim Iverson, Nico House, a bunch of other people who have, have overlapping audiences, Richard Medhurst. So I have a bunch of free content that's there. And then if you do the $10 a month premium, it's blockchain, it's cryptocurrency, and it's a way. And then also please go to panquake.com. They are doing a fundraiser. They just hit their $50,000 goal. Their next goal is, I think, somewhere around $100,000. If they get that money, they can literally build Panquake and have it like up and running. It's like a open source blockchain Twitter that Bill Binney's helping, one of the best cryptographers in the world, who, stuck it to the NSA and the FBI, is helping design it. So those are ways to do what Whitney's talking about, is like, we're going to have to hop from all of these platforms because they are going to start getting targeted. That's why blockchain and cryptocurrency and all that. So I just received a question people have for you, Whitney. They want to know, are you vegan and are you related to Gary Webb?
Okay, I'm not related to Gary Webb, but he is a hero. And his work was amazing and changed the world. So I'm very happy to be confused as a member of his family, but I'm not related to him. There are actually a lot of Webbs in the Kentucky, Virginia area where my dad's family is from. I don't know. So that's all I have to say about that. And I was vegan until I got pregnant, and then my child was massive, and like people still make fun of how fat a baby she was. She's not now. She's 3. But yeah, I was pregnant and I could not do it. Well, part of it is because I live in Chile, and so like, I had been I haven't eaten meat since like 2010. So, and then I became a vegan afterwards, but the vegan options in Chile, it's very slim pickings. This is like meat country, sort of like the American South, but without the like food, the selection of like non-meat products in the grocery stores has none of that. So, you have to either make it all yourself or invest a lot of time, import stuff from out of the country that can get kind of expensive. So it's a little complicated, but I used to manage farms. I love farm animals and I don't like eating them, and I don't eat them. So, I went back to dairy when pregnant. So I'm just a regular old vegetarian now. So,
well, thank you.
Someday I'll go back, I think, when, it's cheaper and easier and I'm not in Chile, maybe.
Yeah, don't feel bad. You don't have to start like growing almond trees and turning them into milk. You know what I mean? You're pretty busy doing all this reporting. So you're fine. You're good, Whitney. Well, thank you so much again for being on the show and shining light on all of this. Everybody, please check out Whitney's work at unlimitedhangout.com. I will put that link in the show notes. All right, Whitney, you have a great day, night, wherever it is. And we will talk to you soon.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Graham.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Always great having Whitney on the show. Man, is she awesome. God, is she awesome. We got over 1,200 people. Hit the like button. Sign up on Rockfin. I'm going to answer all of the 979 likes. Let's get the likes up to 1,000. I will start answering the tips on Rockfin. So those are like super chats. I will answer all those questions. Also, if you sent me a question on Venmo, I'll go through those as well. This is Whitney awesome. She's just like, God, she's so like, it just blows my mind how great she is. She always just brings in like, I think I'm knowledgeable about something, and then she'll just come and go, that guy's connected to this guy, worked at this group, is at the boom, the boom. It's just like, wow. It's so great. That's a good smoothie. Really good smoothie. All right. Wow, 95 people watching on the Rockfin. I love it. Buck Smith, Shaver Knuckles for Justice. Setchmo, we did that one already. Matt S, good day. How are you, sir? T-Can, Shaver Knuckles for Justice. Thank you for the tip on Rockfin. Mary Hale, boom. They shut Jamarl down again. It's insane, but not surprising. God. See, this is why I'm just not going to like scurry around to try to get remonetized because they'll just take it down again and just I'm just waiting for the full deplatforming to happen, so I'll keep streaming on YouTube just to promote people to go to Rockfin, but they're going to, whatever, man. Ed C, love everything you guys are doing. Ed, thank you so much. Shave Your Knuckles for Justice. You're making Gotham great again. Batsu, boom. There can never be too much Whitney Webb. You got that right. She's awesome. Caddy May, Shave Your Knuckles for Justice. Thank you so much. Bobby, boom. Thank you, Bobby, for the tip on Rockfin. Billy, Bill Nye the Highest guy. Thank you, Bill Nye the Highest guy. Making Gotham great again. I've got a toothache and no insurance, so I'm getting drunk with Graham and Whitney. I'm drinking tequila and pineapple juice. What's your drink of choice? Well, I'll show you my drink of choice, friend. Right here. Vegan smoothie, kiddo. I start my mornings drinking a little kombucha, maybe 3-4 ounces, and water. Yeah. Boom. Heather, thank you for the tip on Rockfin, Heather. You're the best. Chase Baird, boom, Chase, shave him. Andrew Davis, I'll trust Biden's entire cabinet so long as Joe Rogan has never paid any of them a minor compliment. That's the line. That's funny. Jessica asks, boom. What's up, Jessica? Thank you for supporting the show. Wit to wit. Thanks for having Whitney on. You got it. Shave Your Knuckles for Justice. Love having her on. She's such a great guest. She just brings so much knowledge to what we're doing here, and she's fighting the good fight. It's just fantastic. Wit to wit again. Hello, Wit to wit. Vegan guns, bro. Okay, Kate. Yes, Kate. I will do the Venmos after I do the Rockfin tips. Thank you, Kate. We need to create international communities and create food security for each other. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of the things that's been so obvious this year of the pandemic, especially in America, but like we all got to work together because the government, especially the American government, doesn't give a shit about us. We're on our own. Now, other governments have handled COVID better and taken care of their citizens and stuff, but still, the global ruling elites, man, they just want neoliberal policies that steal money from the working class and give it to the ruling class. That's what they want to do all over the world. That's all they're doing. So just in this country, it's like on steroids, but yeah, we all got to help each other out, especially in America. We got to grow our own food. We got to look after each other because the government wants us divided, distracted, and afraid. That's what they want. Fuddruckers Co-op. Hey, so if I'm watching you on Rockfin, don't watch you on YouTube. Now that you're demonetized, I only do double dip to help the algorithm. That's cool. But now I shouldn't do that. It's a great question. You can watch on both if you want. I mean, look, like we had 1,300 people watching on YouTube, which is a pretty awesome number. For a live stream. So that helps. All those algorithms do help because it does help attract new people to the YouTube channel. So what my tactic now is, I came up with this last week because I have no faith they're going to remonetize me. And even if they did, they'll just take it down again. Like they just did the Jamal Thomas, right? They're just going to screw me over. So what I'm going to use YouTube for is this. So the answer to your question is yes, watching on YouTube does help. Liking videos on YouTube does help the algorithm because I want to, any new viewers that come to me, because it's so massive, YouTube, people aren't going to just like stumble across Rockfin on their own. They're probably not, because it's just too new and too small of a platform, but they're going to do it on YouTube. They're going to be on YouTube watching Joe Rogan or Jimmy or whatever, and maybe find a video of mine. So why it helps still being on the YouTube algorithm is the more people we attract to YouTube, to the live stream, then we can direct them over to Rockfin. That's the long-term play. So if I get fully demonetized from YouTube or not deplatformed from YouTube, I want to just keep funneling as many people. Look, in the last 2 weeks, I went from 12,000 followers to 15,000 followers on Rockfin. So I want to get 100,000 followers on Rockfin. I want to get, thousands of people subscribing to the channel. So there's a follower, which is just anyone who signs up for a free account and clicks follow to my account. And then there's people subscribing specifically to my channel. So when you do the subscribe thing on Rockfin and you get to endorse one channel, so that means like you endorse my channel, right? So then I get a big chunk of your $10 a month. Then any other video you watch on anybody else's platform and click like, that a little bit of your $10 a month goes to that plan. So it is spread out. So endorsing a channel, a big bulk of the money goes to that channel. So that's the long-term goal, is to just keep driving people over to Rockfin. So watching on YouTube and liking on YouTube still helps the algorithm that'll attract new viewers to get everybody over to Rockfin, and eventually like Panquake when that opens, which is more like a Twitter platform. It's not like a content platform like YouTube. It'll be more like Twitter. And that's the goal. And also people that watch on Odyssey, that's a new platform I'm going to be on. So that's a great question. YouTube aloha, nice dancing to Justin. Thank you for turning me on to Rockfin. Right on, Fuddruckers. Thank you. Old Gringo, boom. Here's a few pennies. Would give you more if I could. Thank you so much. And I say this every time. Do not feel bad if you're only able to give a couple of bucks, or people who are like, Graham, I have no money to give. Money's too tight. Don't feel bad. I know we're in a tough situation financially as a country and globally, but especially as a country. So however you can help the show. That's why, like the free stuff, signing up for rockfin.com, sharing these videos on your social media, those are free things that really help. Don't feel bad if money's tight. We're going to figure this out. We're going to get through it. We're going to be okay. Follower of Ruthieism. Shave your knuckles for justice. Support Ruthieism. I don't know what Ruthieism is, but okay. Dan Adams. Dan, thank you for the tip on Rockfin. Brian, thank you for the tip on Rockfin and shaving your knuckles for justice. Meal Pie. Boom. Thank you for the Rockfin tip. Old Gringo. Boom, 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 boom. Kyle Kalinske has big seltzer. Graham Elwood needs big smoothie backing him. LOL. Yes. Well, I'm in the back pocket of Big Kale. Kale Street. They just pay me all day, all night. Kale Street. Scott Buzzick, shave your knuckles for justice. Thomas Franco, shave them. Mandy's a Mary, shave them for the Rockfin tips. Love it. Thank you so much for everybody jumping over to Rockfin. Got 97 people watching on Rockfin, which is pretty rad. Chimchurri, thank you so much, Chimchurri. Also, Monday nights at 8 o'clock Pacific time, I do a Rockfin Premium Members exclusive live stream, Graham's Late Night Crypto Lounge. I do segments and answer questions, but I do more. I can sing songs and I can show there's no like copyright issues over there. So that's another thing you get if you become a premium member. My Graham Goes to Russia doc is on Rockfin Premium. I get all this premium content. Like I take this like as soon as this live stream's done, I pull it off YouTube and I put it on Patreon. And then I put it on Rockfin, the premium. So, and you get to watch all my premium content, early access to the podcast, all this cool stuff. When you have 7 hours to spare, will you watch the new 6-part Adam Curtis documentary and let me know what you think? Okay, I will check that out. Michael Sparks, Shave Your Knuckles for Justice, Michael. Simon F. Pegao. Boom, Simon. Thank you. MHC, thank you for the tip. Graham, how optimistic are you about the future? I'm trying not to have a totally negative outlook, but at least to me, every sign that there might be some hope seems to fall apart not long after. Well, it is pretty bleak, I'll be honest with you, but I think Whitney brought up a good point. There's just more people waking up to the fact that we're all being lied to. And COVID is really revealing that. They're, oh, the stock market's doing great. People are like, I'm broke. I'm waiting in line for food. Where's my $2,000 check? You know, all these billionaires are making record profits. People are going to be furious. People are mad. Biden doesn't have all the big Biden supporters, the people who voted for Biden to fix everything. It's going to run out quick if by the summertime people are broke and hungry. And even if we open back up, yay, the vaccine worked. We're all open, but all these businesses are already done. They're shut down. It's not going to last long. And people are going to just be like, I'm sick of this crap. I'm sick of it. Because like you can't blame the Republicans anymore. Can't blame Trump. They're gone. You I think COVID is really forcing people to wake up from the lie and propaganda of the lesser of two evils bullshit is what I think. That's what keeps me going. The GameStop thing gave me faith. Just the support from the last 2 weeks has given me faith. Enough people are like, this ain't right. So it's bleak, but there's little signs of hope out there, man. What those Wall Street Bets people did was amazing. That was one of the most revolutionary, subversive things I've ever seen. And it was legal and they made money from it and nobody got hurt. Nobody got shot with rubber bullets or tear gassed or jailed or anything. And they stuck it to the ruling class to the tune of about $73 billion. That was fantastic. Melissa H. What's up, Melissa? Sorry to have missed most of Whitney tonight. Had my second planning commission Zoom meeting just ended 15 minutes ago. There was one member who doesn't want the village to change at all. And I want to start talking about permaculture and small affordable homes. We'll see how that goes. Well, thank you, Melissa. So just as I said, if you're a Rockfin premium member or $10 tier member on patreon.com/Graham Elwood, the live stream immediately goes up for those folks. So if you missed part of it tonight, you can watch it as soon as we're done, the whole interview with Whitney. Tomorrow, I will break Whitney's interview up into three clips that I will drop. I'll drop one of them on YouTube. I'll drop all 3 on Rockfin. And then probably Thursday, I'll drop on YouTube and Rockfin probably, or maybe just Rockfin. I don't know. But I will then drop, everything's going on Rockfin for sure. Some will go on YouTube. Then I'll drop the full interview, which was like a 90-minute interview. I'll drop that. So I'll break it into 3 clips, 3 different segments. We'll talk about censorship in one segment. The other one was the Eric Lander, Biden science creep nominee, and then the anti-war socialist that got arrested. Those will be the 3 segments. And then I'll also release just the whole interview. So Chimchurri, boom, a local grocery store just threw away all their perishables after a power outage. Now they have about 10 police officers guarding their dumpsters outside the store. Jesus Christ. That should have been given to people. Police officers. God, that's awful. Ugh. Dallas Smith, Shave Your Knuckles for Justice, would like to chip in a bit from Australia. It's crazy here too. Thank you, Dallas. Good to see you down under. I will be on tour there when things open up with Ron Placon. Jorge Ruiz, what's up, dude? Shave Your Knuckles for Justice. Hey, bro, I read through the corruption of Disney over Anaheim. Thought you might be interested. Also, do you have part 2 of the Russia doc? Yes. So on Rockfin, to clarify, just because Rockfin's a newer platform, I couldn't upload a whole hour video. So I had to break the Russia doc into part 1 and part 2, but both parts are up on Rockfin. I just pinned part 1 on my channel page just so you go there. But then if you go back into I don't think I can pin 2 videos. But yeah, part 2 is up on Rockfin as well. Maybe I got to create the stacks on Rockfin. That's something I'll do, but I'll create a Russia doc stack. But both parts of the Russia doc are up on Rockfin. And the Russia doc is also up on Patreon. Thank you for sending me that article, dude. Robin Spencer, show the guns. You got it, Robin. Boom. Look at it. Look at them. Just gorgeous. Old Gringo, thank you for supporting the show. Boom. Have you checked out the trailer for The Con? The people over at Real Progressives are promoting it. I have not. I will check that out. Darcy Clark. Hello, Darcy. You're shaving your knuckles for justice. You're making Gotham great again. Melissa H. What's up, Melissa? Our town is getting a 4,500 megawatt hour solar array. We have a goal of 7,500 megawatt hour goal by 2025. This will get us to 8,600 by 2022. Nice. I love it. Nick Sandoval. Ba-boom, Nick. Hey, Graham, didn't you go to U of A? Yes, I did. Bear down. University of Arizona in Tucson. I played lacrosse there my freshman year. And I was in the comedy group Comedy Corner. We did a show every Friday at noon in the cellar of the student union. I think they've moved the show time to night, but we did noon. It was great. That's where I started doing stand-up. I'm low-key surprised you're not a bigger drinker. Well, I used to be, but I stopped. I'm sober. Word on the street is that all they do there is party. Yeah. I went to college a long time ago. So I'm not the same guy I was. I wasn't a vegan smoothie drinking dude in college. No, sir. Not exactly the vegan smoothie type drinks I hear. Anyways, I'm just razzing you a bit. Have you seen the biosphere they have? If so, what do you think of it? I've never been, but seems cool. I don't think the biosphere was built when I was there. I graduated in 91. But yeah, I went to University of Arizona in Tucson. Ron and I did a show there last February, a year ago. It was great to be back there. I still got friends in Tucson, and I had a great time in college there. I was a film major. Yeah, U of A, baby, bear down. I was there when Steve Kerr played there, who now coaches the Golden State Warriors and was on he won 3 titles with the Bulls, their second three-peats. Kerr was on that team. Yeah, I had a great time. I had a great time in college. All right, let's go to the Venmo. I know some people on Venmo. You got Venmo. We're going to answer some questions on the Venmo. I really appreciate everybody going over to Rockfin and Venmo. I really appreciate that. You're really helping what we're doing. Alan Bram, shave your knuckles for justice, independent media. You got that right. Whoops, sorry. Stanley Collado, shave your knuckles for justice on the Venmo. Please give me your thoughts on the libertarian aspect of Bitcoin, e.g. desire for destruction of nation state and those which most Bitcoin amassing private guards a la Mad Max. Libertarians' wet dream. Many Bitcoin supporters believe in this stateless future without social safety net. I mean, that aspect of it, this is where I differ very strongly with the libertarians, is they're just like, we all figure it out ourselves. And that's just not how we need a social safety net. We need to take care of people who can't help for themselves, people with, disabilities or, suffering mental disability, whatever. Like you got to take care of each other. That's what we should be looking out for each other. I mean, we should be taking care of each other. A social safety net's a good thing. Letting everybody free college, free school for everybody, that makes a better society. The libertarian line, just figure it out. That's not building a good society. So the things about Bitcoin that I like is it gets us out of the central banks. The central banks are responsible for massive debt. They fund the wars. They use their money for sanctioning, which is an act of warfare. I mean, on down the line with the awful things that central banks do, specifically the Federal Reserve of the United States Empire. So Bitcoin is decentralized. It's amazing what it's doing. And I really have a lot of faith in it. The libertarians that just want Bitcoin to get rid of governments, I don't think that's going to happen. It's going to really empower regular people. It is the single greatest moment we've had in history where regular people can amass wealth and get out of debt and get out of the central banks. And that's how they keep us down. They want you in debt. They want you working a job that barely pays your bills. So you have to rack up a credit card and go into debt for this and that. And Bitcoin is a way out of that. So I don't agree with that some libertarians are just like, no governments. Well, that you need governments, and because people are going to do crazy shit. Human beings are nuts. And governments should be serving at building and maintaining and constantly improving a really cool, just society. They're not typically, they're used for exploitation and feeding the wealthy and whatever. But that's what I think. Great question, though. Oh, Venmo, you always reset. Ian Abbott, shave your knuckles for justice. Will you ever smoke weed again, or are you sober for life? I am sober for life. Tony DeMayo, shave your knuckles for justice. Tony, thank you for supporting the show on the Venmo. Chris Hedges has a new article on sheerpost.com. Everyone should check it out. Ooh. Check it out. Sheerpost, SCHEERPOST.com. That's cool. Check it out. Kate, maybe put that in the chat. SCHEERPOST.com. Look for that Chris Hedges new article on sheerpost.com, Kate, and put it in the chat. Camille R. Boom. What's up, Camille R? Hello. Super chat. I recommend people read the book White Trash by Nancy Eisenberg. She goes through the history of class in America. It's disturbing yet eerily familiar today. Yes. Great book recommendation, Camille. Thank you so much. Camille R. again, shaving them for justice. Super chat. Eric Huntley's YouTube channel deleted midstream during an interview about Bitcoin. He's not controversial, not an activist, just interviews interesting guests. YouTube is out of pocket. We got to make them obsolete. Yep. Which is why I simulcast on Rockfin. So if suddenly YouTube just pulls my feed, go over to Rockfin. I kind of hope they do it. I hope they just shut me down. And it's like, all right, now we're going to have 1,000 people watching me on Rockfin. Tony DeMayo, what's up, Tony? Thank you so much, brother. Question, hey, Graham, did you know about the Hays Code, which censored movies from 1927 to 1968? Yes, I did. That would be a great government secret to expose. Oh, I will talk about that. Yes, I studied that in college as a film school. I will, absolutely. Right. Thanks. Thanks, Tony. All right. Thank you for the Venmos, everybody. Why does Rockfin require an email to sign up? Well, they got to have something for you to sign up, I would imagine. Nick Sandoval, what's up, dude? Thank you for the tip on the Rockfin, baby. Glad you had a great time in college, Graham. I'm not from Tucson, only been a few times. Let's just say I hope you do some Tempe shows in the future, possibly near one of the best sustainable schools around today. Thanks for being great. Keep up the great work. Right on. Yes. God, it was a year ago. February was a year ago that we were like on the road. So there was a weekend. I think it was this weekend, the second weekend of February, right around this time, where Ron and I did Tucson on like Saturday night or something, and then went to Tempe on Sunday and did shows with Jimmy. We did the Jimmy show at the Tempe Improv. It was so fun. We'll be back. Believe me, when things open up, Ron and I have a like 5 to 6 week tour. We're going to hit the whole United States. And cities we've done in the past, like Tempe and Tucson, we'll return to. So I don't know how we're going to do it just yet, but we're going to like maybe we'd start in LA and go, like San Diego and then Tucson, Tempe, Albuquerque, go through Texas. And like, we're going to hit the whole country, man. We are going to hit the whole country. So, but we're going to hit, markets we've done in the past that did well. If there's some cities we went to that didn't do that well, we might not go back. But even the smaller towns, if we have some nights off because the shows are going to be mainly on the weekend and we got to like drive, 12 hours to get to the next city, but there's like a halfway point smaller town, we'll stop there for a night and do a show. Like we're going to just do shit like that. We'll schedule it. It will have this massive tour. We will promote the shit out of it and we will come perform. And Jimmy will be back on the road by then too. And we'll tie in, we'll go to some towns, so one night Ron and I will perform and maybe Jimmy and Steph do guest spots on our show. And then the next night we do a live Jimmy Dore show. Maybe Lee Camp's in town. We do a Government Secrets live. Like we're going to be out there hardcore. It's going to be fantastic. Fantastic. All right. We've been talking for 2 hours at here's the sheer post, Chris Hedges article. I just posted it I just pinned it on the page. 50 degrees inside, teens outside, homeless people are hopefully doing okay. Motels are charging disgusting. God. Hiding under comforters with hat and gloves, layers and cat. She's even cold. Jesus, what the fuck, Texas? I'm sorry to hear that. Just keep Ron away from any toasters. Yeah, we're going to make sure there's no toasters on this tour because I just can't have that again. Ron and Graham are to the Route 66 Progressive Comedy Tour. Yeah, maybe we'll call it that. Also, sign up for my newsletter and get a free smoothie recipe. Go to grahamelwood.com. The link is right here. I just posted it. Go to MailChimp. This MailChimp link that I just posted, or you can just go to grahamelwood.com at the bottom. You just put your email address and we send out a newsletter like once a month. This month we might do 2 because we had the crazy demonetization at the beginning of the month. So you get a free smoothie recipe, you get updates on what's going on. And also you're wanting to be on that news list because again, when we start going on the road, which probably won't be till the fall, but the newsletter will be talking about tour dates and all that stuff. Boom. All right, folks. Let me pick a song and get on out of here. I've been talking for 2.5 hours. Whitney Webb was so great. Nice work, everybody over on the Rockfin. I really appreciate it. We've had 1,130 likes on YouTube. Thank you so much. That algorithm, like I said, it still helps. It still very much helps what we're doing. StreamYard. All right. What are we singing? Free smoothie recipe, folks. Free smoothie recipe. Oh, oh, boo, 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 boo. Whitney Webb needs to be on every channel. Yes, Whitney's fantastic. It's funny to hear this lefty socialist channel talk about Bitcoin. Well, socialism doesn't mean you shouldn't earn a profit. It doesn't mean you shouldn't make money. Socialism is just workers own the means of production, right? So capitalism extracts labor. It extracts your time and your labor from you and doesn't pay you fairly. Bitcoin is empowered. So like socialism, you can have a competitive free market in socialism. A worker-owned cooperative two shoe stores competing. Let's just say 2 shoe stores across the street from each other. They're both worker-owned cooperatives. They're still going to have to compete for prices and marketing and blah, blah, blah. But just the workers are treated better. That's all it means. Socialism has been completely misconstrued in this country by design. We've all been propagandized since World War II to equate totalitarian, like Stalin era Soviet Union communism with socialism. Socialism just means workers own the means of production. Democratic socialism just means an equal distribution of public money. So currently we have socialism operating in America. Our police department, our fire department, our public libraries, public schools, street cleaning, snow plows, all that stuff is democratic socialism. Everybody's tax dollars go in and everybody gets it. Anyone can call 911 and the fire department theoretically and will show up. Everybody's streets get plowed. Everybody gets to use the library. Everybody gets to use the park. That's democratic socialism, right? So also in socialism, you can own a company and be the CEO, president of that company and make a nice profit. But you have to pay your workers good wages. You can't just extract all the money. You'd have no billionaires in socialism. You'd probably have some millionaires. Okay, fine. But you wouldn't have this egregious wealth inequity. Also socialism and democratic socialism, nobody gets left behind. You would have no homelessness. You would have no, senior citizens, having to work at a Wendy's or Walmart because they don't have enough money in their retirement because society would take care of them. You'd have free college. So you'd have an educated populace. You'd be working towards making society better on a daily basis, not just a handful of wealthy people seeing how much money they can extract from the 99% so they can buy another goddamn yacht. That's the difference. The stock market in China doesn't control the economy. Good point. Harmful content, sock it to them. Yeah, worker-owned cooperative. I already like you. No smoothie necessary. It's all good. All right. Richard Wolf's take. Tom Brady needs to give back his PPP. You got that right. Socialist Yacht, great band name. You and he were awesome today. Thank you, Nays. We did it. We recorded yesterday, but yes, I'm glad you liked it. Thanks, Nays Garden. There can be a board just elected by the workers, not the shareholders. Yep. Dan Price is a socialist CEO. He's cool. Right on. Fast food chains would be franchises owned by the workers who also voted in a board of directors for the parent corporation. Oh, great, Angie Davis. That's awesome. Sing Tina Turner. Proud Mary? Proud Mary is Eddie Vedder? Or Proud Mary is Shatner? Let's do Tina Turner. We're going to sing Proud Mary.
Is this really happening?
I think the few unsavory.
All right, Shatner sings Tina Turner. Done deal.
You know, every now and then I think you might like to hear something nice and easy. There's just one thing, you see, we never, ever do nothing nice and easy. We do it nice and rough. But we're going to take the beginning of the song and do it easy. And we're going to do the finish rough. That's the way we do Proud Mary, rolling on the river. Listen to the story now. Left a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day. And I never lost 1 minute of sleeping, thinking about the way things might have been. Big wheels keep on turning. Proud Mary keep on burning. We were rolling.
You can hear the singer. Oh shit! Let me do this all over. Sorry. Yeah, that's just too much singing. Stop it. This one isn't. Yeah. Sorry, we'll get a better one. Yeah, do the Vivo version. Oh, that's what the Vivo version wasn't it?
What are you doing on your phone?
I'm sorry, I left a gentleman alone in my...
Tracking him?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Sorry, we're going to do that over. That was
if you're
fantastic.
trying to lose belly fat, stop doing cardio. This sounds backwards, right? Well, believe it or not, it's actually true. Stop spending hours on the elliptical to get it.
What is she talking about? Workout tips. That was fun. Rolling is illogical, Captain. Fantastic. Oh, you guys are fantastic. Matt S., thank you for the tip on the Rockfin. Oh, do you ever indulge or just eat some shitty food after a rough day? I can't imagine it. Nope, I don't. So it's not good. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. We had almost 1,200 likes on the YouTube. We had a lot of people. Make sure you hit the like button on the Rockfin as well. Thank you for everybody. Thank you for everybody on the Venmo. Let me just double check Venmo. Make sure there's no new Venmos. Everybody, thank you for the tips and signing up on Rockfin. I really appreciate it. Jeff Abercrombie, keep on rocking. I will. Thank you for the Venmo. Ian Abbott, will you ever smoke? Oh, I answered that question. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night. We'll be live again tomorrow. I'm not sure when. Working on some guests. I'm going to be having Sean O'Brien, who's one of the creators and developers of Panquake, on the show this week. We're just ironing those times out. But I'll be live again tomorrow. Thank you so much. Shave your knuckles for justice. Remember, follow the money, connect the dots. That's where you get the truth. That makes Gotham great again, because you're political vigilantes and you shave your knuckles for truth. And we're rolling, 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 rolling on the river.